All right, so I wanted to get in this because, like, it's laughable that Batman is a hero. Like, it's laughable, right? Batman is literally the worst hero of all time. He has to be. Like, if you think about it right now, be honest with yourself. Out of all the comic book hero city associations that exist, what's the one place you wouldn't go to? I'm not even gonna get into it yet, right? But I'm saying my list. You want to go to Metropolis? Sure. Most of the time, bad stuff doesn't happen there. Reasonably stable, right? Central City, I'll go there. I'd even go to that town Invincible's from. I would go anywhere before I would go to Gotham. You know why? Because it's terrible in Gotham, and you never know what the hell is going to happen in Gotham. And this guy hasn't done anything to even slow it down in all this time. I'm just saying, out of every single hero who has a city that they rep, that they protect, you got the worst one. By far, it's not even close. Gotham is the one place you would have to pay me to go to Gotham. But we're going to examine some things about Batman so we can really understand where this is coming from. Now, first of all, I want to talk about Batman's mental state. Like, this is often nuanced, and sometimes people debate it, but he's got some issues, right? Batman has some real issues. Obsession, extreme methods, dual identity. Let's break him down, right? Like, his childhood started with childhood trauma and post-traumatic stress disorder. I never saw this guy get any help, okay? I'm going to say that right up front. He witnessed the brutal murder of his parents, which we all understand how much this shaped him. This was a level of trauma that, combined with survival's guilt, gave him extreme PTSD. And instead of dealing with these issues in a healthy way, like a normal person would, like, what's his butler's name? Alfred. If you really cared about him, you would have got him some help. Like, let's just stop the cap right there. Full stop. So instead, he channels his trauma into this obsessive crusade against crime, right? He's essentially trying to protect people from his experience, but he never heals. He just transfers this trauma. He has a weird life. Like, he essentially lives a double life, where it's arguable that his true life is Batman and his Bruce Wayne is the mask, which is a part of that disorder, right? He has a compulsion. He pushes his body and his mind beyond limits, beyond reasonable limits. He's constantly endangering himself. His inability to stop, it costs him personal happiness. He's like, I don't know what level of personal happiness he gets, which suggests he has some psychological compulsions. He's hypervigilant. He thinks of the worst. He anticipates threats that don't even exist sometimes, although so a lot of times he's right. And he has major control issues, right? This isn't a full-blown disorder, but we're seeing some very troubling things that come from him surrounding paranoia and trust issues. So you play the role of Bruce Wayne, this charming billionaire playboy. That's your deflection. That's your beard, so to speak. When in reality, you are this raw, unfiltered manifestation of trauma and, like, your self-given mission. Now, he operates with this insane level of paranoia, and that's why he's always, like, planning, even against his closest allies, the Justice League. And one of the things that's essential to a good hero, a good leader, right? Anything else, this is your friend, this is your coworker, someone you start a business with. I need to be able to trust you. Now, we've already seen that he doesn't trust anybody, and in fact, he developed contingency plans against every single one of them. Every single one of them, which put all of us at risk when it got compromised. Now, that's the thing. I can't work with you anymore. I can't work with you anymore because you are a threat directly to me. Now, let's look at his moral code. Like, his moral code, like, is all over the place. You don't believe in killing people, but you'll do anything else. You beat people, you get all around. We're going to get in that, but those are some things that he has. And he's got this moral, like, disconnect, right? He refuses to kill, but yet you allow these criminals to run around who rack up these high death tolls. That's what you're doing. Like, you're not killing yourself, but you're allowing them to keep living and to keep killing. And we'll explain more about this perpetuating loop because this is central to Batman's story. Okay? Now, Batman's personality is riddled with emotional detachment, tactical coldness, and the ability to operate in high-stress environments. You are a bit of a sociopath. You are anti to society. You lack a level of empathy. Like, man, we've seen this guy, like, cold-bloodedly, right? What was the guy in the Flashpoint Paradox where you let the guy, tricked him to being your runner, the speedster, right? Which killed him, right? So you do be killing people. Like, this is... So there is some moral ambiguity, and you were able to do it ice cold. Ice cold, you delivered that. That does not necessarily sound like a hero. And what we really get into is the way that he operates outside of the law. He brutalizes suspects, gathers evidence illegally, and coerces confessions. Like, I know this works in the comic book world, but judging it from the outside world, this would never work. None of your evidence would ever be admissible in court against anyone. Every single one of these cases would be thrown out. And the fact is, like, you can't be anonymous and report crimes. You can't, because you can't stand up in a court of law with a mask on without confirming your identity and credibility, which is why we don't want vigilantes out on the street. You also completely F off the chain of custody, right? When you are out there, you're beating people. That serves as your justice. So you're denying people a right to counsel. You're denying people the right to present evidence. He just swoops in, takes evidence, drops it off, leaves a crime scene. Like, there's no like follow up on this. It's ridiculous to think like that. And you cannot be a witness in any capacity. This is actually a legal nightmare for the city. Like, they can't do anything. They can't do anything. This is a billionaire, again, oligarch. This is a billionaire who's creatively doing what he wants. Instead of like cleaning up the city, changing the level of corruption, you feed into this, and now you have the city that's even more corrupt, because nobody, I'm sure some of those criminals, you're not perfect. So some of those criminals had to have been innocent on some level. Some people got fortunate stuff, and without you taking a deeper dive, you're just beating and disabling people because you enjoy doing it, knowing that they can't go to court for any of the crimes they did, so they end up right back out on the street, which is the problem. This is supposedly from a genius. He's a genius, right? Batman is a genius level intelligence, and this is what you're doing. Okay. Now, we know he's also, like, super smart. And everyone likes to build Batman as, okay, if Batman has foreplanning, he can be... Batman's not the smartest person in the world. He's got some specialized skill, but he's more of a jack of all trades and not a master of any. Lex Luthor is smarter than him. Mr. Terrific is smarter than Batman. The Atom is smarter than Batman. There's a host of characters that are actually smarter than Batman. Now, I understand he puts it together with his adaptability, intuition, and paranoia, but this guy has some insights that, you know, he's got strategic foresight, so he always is thinking about things. But this is also where your mind is. And then Batman also has a very questionable moral ground. Now, Batman seems like a good guy when he's up against criminals, but if you actually compare his moral compass to other heroes, it's not so great. Right? Batman says no killing, no guns. And that separates him from the criminals that he fights. But the major Joker problem, and Injustice brought this up, this is the major Joker problem. Batman refuses to kill the Joker despite the countless death that the Joker causes every time he escapes Arkham. You just put him in Arkham, he escapes, he goes on and kills people. You catch him, put him back in Arkham, he escapes and he kills people. Right? Even the commissioner has mentioned that you're probably enabling their worst nightmare. And his moral code becomes questionable when you're dealing with people beyond street level criminals. If you're facing planetary threats, you have to be able to kill them sometimes. But you hold yourself to this weird, like, Batman's morality is rooted in control and paranoia. This is where he really comes in. Like, he shows his lack of ability to trust by contingency plans against his own teammates. He sees himself as this upper righteous person, but your main reason for not being able to have a relationship with Superman is because you can't control him. And we saw that play out. Like, yeah, Superman is a threat. Maybe Superman shouldn't be here. I don't even really like Superman that much, but the reason you don't like him is because you can't control him. He's got massive, like, ethical blind spots. Like, let's be real. You recruit children, orphans, and teenagers to become your Robins, which there are multiple Robins, right? Exposing them to all types of violence and danger. And Jason Todd died because of events, but that didn't stop you from recruiting kids. Telling yourself that you're keeping them out of harm's way when you're dressing them up to go out and fight dangerous criminals. Like, this guy is also like a vigilante. Like, on the daily, you're basically a vigilante. So I really have to question a lot of aspects of Batman just because, like, your morality is questionable, your mental state is questionable. If I have to judge you on your track record and your main city of protection is Gotham, you do not get to advance to being a protector of the world. That's laughable. I wouldn't ask you to protect a state based on your track record in this city that you supposedly love. You don't even love the rest of us. So anyway, I just kind of feel like Batman, this is kind of a myth of a hero. He's not necessarily a hero. And if you really judge him, like, this is a very extremely flawed character in a lot of dangerous ways.